Matthew 5, verse 1. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him. At this point in the gospel narrative, the ministry of Jesus has begun to spread throughout Galilee. Matthew records that great multitudes were following him from Galilee, Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. The land of Israel was alive with expectation. The prophets had spoken of a coming age when God would visit his people, restore his covenant promises, and bring righteousness to his nation. Into this historical moment, Jesus appears announcing that the kingdom of heaven was drawing near. Matthew 5 begins a section often called the Sermon on the Mount. The setting is important. Jesus sees the multitudes and ascends a mountain. In the scriptures, mountains frequently serve as places of divine revelation. Moses received the law on Mount Sinai. Elijah encountered the voice of God on Horeb. By presenting Jesus ascending a mountain and sitting to teach, Matthew portrays him as one who speaks with covenantal authority, greater than the prophets, and even greater than Moses. The text says, seeing the multitudes. The crowds represent Israel gathered in anticipation of the promised kingdom. They had lived for generations under the weight of the law and the traditions that surrounded it. They lived within a covenant system that exposed sin but could not remove it. The sacrificial system, repeated year after year, testified that full cleansing had not yet arrived. The people longed for the time when God would fulfill his promises spoken through the prophets. Jesus goes up into the mountain, and when he was set. In the Jewish teaching tradition, sitting signified the posture of a rabbi instructing his students with authority. This was not a casual moment of speech, but a formal declaration. The one who sits is the one who teaches with recognized authority. Throughout Matthew's gospel, this authority becomes a central theme, culminating in the declaration that all authority in heaven and earth belongs to him. Then Matthew records that his disciples came unto him. While the multitudes were present, the primary audience of the teaching is the disciples. These were the ones called to follow him, the witnesses who would observe the transition taking place in Israel's history. They stood at the turning point between the age governed by the law and the age that was about to be revealed through the work of the Messiah. The sermon that follows unfolds within this covenantal transition. The righteousness described by Jesus exposes the true intent of the law while simultaneously revealing its inability to produce the life it demanded. The standard presented in the sermon rises beyond external behavior and reaches into the thoughts, motives, and intentions of the heart. Anger becomes equivalent with murder, lust with adultery, and love is extended even toward enemies. The righteousness required exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees. This elevation of the standard serves a revealing purpose. The law had always testified to a righteousness beyond human achievement. It functioned as a witness that pointed forward to something greater. The teaching on the mountain demonstrates the depth of God's holiness and exposes the impossibility of attaining righteousness through human effort. Yet the narrative of Matthew continues toward a climactic resolution. The one who ascends the mountain to declare the true measure of righteousness is the same one who will later ascend another hill outside Jerusalem. There, the covenant mediated through the law would reach its appointed conclusion. The sacrificial system, the temple order, and the entire structure that governed Israel under the Old Covenant would soon give way to what had been promised from the beginning. Within that unfolding story, righteousness is not secured by human striving, but by the work accomplished through the Messiah himself. The gospel reveals that justification is granted freely, apart from the works demanded by the law. What the law exposed but could not produce is fulfilled through the faithfulness of the one who came to complete the covenant story of Israel. Thus, Matthew 5:1 introduces not merely a location, but a moment of profound significance in redemptive history. The Messiah sits upon the mountain as the authoritative teacher of Israel. The disciples gather as witnesses to the revelation that the law pointed toward but could not accomplish. The kingdom that had drawn near in his proclamation was about to be established through the events that would soon unfold in that generation. From that mountain, the voice of the Messiah announces the realities of a kingdom that would bring the covenant story of Israel to its fulfillment and reveal the righteousness of God apart from the works of the law.